Well, we've had some ups and downs over the past handful of days, some warmer temperatures, 60s and 70s, colder for Sunday. We've had a wedge pattern that set up, brought us some really chilly temperatures Sunday. When we're recording this, highs in the 40s for most spots. And then we gradually warm into the 50s and 60s into Monday morning. Then we have a big drop off for much of the week as we have a trough that settles into the area, and that's going to drive in cold air and really just allow it to sit over the area through the new year. So, we mentioned
for New Year's.
I know we mentioned last week the abnormally warm temperatures and how weird it was going to feel on Christmas.
Yeah, and it did feel weird.
It did feel odd. It was an odd thing. I was wearing shorts and t-shirt for much of Christmas Day, but on the flip side, we're back to reality for this week because we're really going to have a winter feel for the start of the new year, and it's going to be seasonably cold, highs in the 50s, lows in the 30s, and we'll talk about why. I want to start with this. I started with this last week to kind of show the temperature change, and I really like this graphic because these colors indicate when we have either a warming or a cooling trend, and this is starting Monday. Obviously, warmer temperatures across the area ahead of the cold front. Highs will reach the mid to upper 60s, maybe some spots towards the coastline reaching the low 70s. And then as that trough builds in, those deep blues settle in. That's that big temperature drop that we'll see, and that's really overspreads across much of the eastern half of the U.S., from St. Louis up towards Chicago, Milwaukee, northeastern parts of Minnesota, all the way east towards Maine, into Ontario, into Canada, and all those spots, seeing a big temperature drop. It's going to be feeling chilly as we head into really much the back half of the week, and it looks like that pattern kind of settles over the area for a good period of time. So if you want it to feel like winter, you've got it, because it's going to be it's gonna be here to stay. I mentioned on Christmas Day it felt so warm. It's not atypical for us to see warmer temperatures during this time of the year.
Right.
Obviously some ups and downs in our temperatures. The average temperature is in the low to mid 50s, but you have some extremes mixed in, like 60s and 70s, and also some other extremes like we saw a couple of weeks ago, low in the teens.
Yeah, like 18 degrees.
Yeah, wind chill in the single digits. Like, you're going to have some extremes every now and again, and that's what we've seen over the past week or so. But once this trough settles in, again, starting on Sunday and into Monday, as that moves in, this drives the cold front through, you can kind of see that U-shaped pattern. It's that trough building in. Those lower heights are in the pink there. It's a big upper level low. That really just stays in place and builds over the area through Wednesday. It doesn't really move anywhere. You can see it kind of just settles. Meanwhile, back to the west, we had a ridging pattern that'll keep areas of the west warmer. But then the lower heights just kind of spread over the entire U.S., so I think it'll be much cooler into the back half of this week. So the next weather maker is the cold front. It's driven by that trough that I just mentioned, and that's what's going to drive in that cold air. We could have a few showers on Monday, but it's not going to be an overwhelming rain chance. I'm not seeing a whole lot of rain over the next week, which is pretty on par with what we've seen a lot over the past year or so. As we head into the new year, we've been looking at some different climatology things for our pattern over the past year or so. Chris Michaels has done some more research into that as well, and he's shared some data with our team, and it's been a lot drier than it typically is, and it's more of the same for the next week. I mean, maybe a few showers on Monday, but other than that, we're kind of quiet for much of the work week. I think by next weekend we'll have some more rain, but for the next week it'll be relatively dry.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, and I'm going to throw you a curveball because we didn't talk about this before we started recording this. But I feel like a lot of people online, my mom and I have been talking about this, with it being so dry, our sinuses are just killing us right now. And, I saw an influencer talk about getting nosebleeds, recently because of the dry air. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like that's happening to everybody I talk to right now. So does that play a role?
It definitely does. Yeah. And we've had several periods of lower humidity as well. And that not only leads to the effects that you feel, like eyes drier, nose drier, and just overall sinuses having an impact, but also it leads to a fire risk as well. Yeah. And that's something I want to mention because, I got into work today, and pretty soon after I got into work, the Weather Service issued an alert for a red flag warning. Look at the wind gusts into Monday behind the cold front. It's not only going to be really dry, like we've mentioned, it's been really dry, it'll be dry again tomorrow, but also you have wind gusts up to like 35 to 36 miles per hour for the triangle down towards Fayetteville, and then back towards Boone, could see wind gusts over 60 miles per hour at times. I think in general around 40 to 50 miles per hour, but they have high wind warnings for parts of the mountains, and other parts of the U.S. also have some more high wind warnings. You can see this wind advisory. First of all, that's a lighter color here. Yeah. The wind advisory spreads all the way back towards Kansas, down through Texas. Tennessee sees the wind advisory. So and then that area in like that orangish, yellowish tan color, I don't know, it's a weird color. But that's the high wind warning. You can see that includes Boone, northern parts of the North Carolina mountains, through Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. Those elevated areas are going to see some pretty strong winds once this front moves through. This is a strong trough. That's what's going to bring us the cool down. No, it's not going to bring the really chilly temperatures we saw a few weeks ago, but it's still going to be much colder compared to what we saw yesterday or Saturday in the 60s and 70s. We'll be back to the 60s and 70s tomorrow, and then we kind of just stay in the 50s and 40s, and it's just I know, it's chaos. But thankfully, it will be cold, but we won't have many changes next week. So you can just plan like, okay, the heater's just going to be on for the next week, and I don't have to go back and forth. I know I went back and forth. Before I left for Christmas, I had the heater on. And when I get back, I'm like, I kind of want to keep the air conditioning on for just a short period of time. Yeah. Then you're kind of back and forth, like, oh, do I want to do that? At that point, just crack a window for 5 minutes and just let some cold air come in. That's what I did last night. I just opened a door, and I just left everything off, opened a door for about 5 minutes, and I just saw the temperature like drop because it was like in the 40s, and I was like, oh, it's down to 67. I was like, oh, let's close the door now.
There you go.
But I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do, and trying to save on the power bill too.
There you go.
But yeah, red flag warning is in place noon through 6 p.m. on Monday because of the dry conditions. Winds 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusts up to 35. Relative humidity as low as 20%. So that's going to lead to an increased fire danger. And even those areas not in this red flag warning, you're seeing here that hot pink colored warning here. Even outside of that, I mean, up towards Rocky Mount, down through Clinton, it's still going to be dry and it's going to be windy, just not as windy as these other spots. So just keep that in mind. Just refrain from burning into tomorrow.
Anything.
Yes.
I'm sure if you follow our news, we have covered a lot of house fires and apartment fires recently. And I know this is something that we talk about all the time around this season, you know, when people are cooking for, you know, the holidays or using indoor heaters, you know, there's some things that can happen there if you're not careful. But also people just burning leaves, like raking their yard up, burning leaves, that can be a hazard and can just lead to a lot of damage, a lot of families without homes
exactly.
You know, during this time. So,
I know.
So if you can refrain from burning leaves in your yard, please do.
Yeah, and we have, you know, a stretch of cold weather coming up, so it's important to remember that you should only use safe heating sources and make sure to check your user manuals, maybe even check with your local fire department and just ask them a question. I know we have some resources online as well about safe heating sources, but maybe if you have a question about what's safe and what's not, call your local fire department and just ask, hey, is this going to be okay for me to use while it's going to be cold in the overnight hours? Because not everyone has, you know, central heating, cooling, and stuff like that. So I just want to make sure that folks are being safe when they're during this cold period. We have another cold stretch coming up, so only safe heating sources. 45 for the high on Tuesday, after a high of 67 on Monday. That high comes around lunchtime tomorrow. Could come just before that. Then we stay in the 50s for our highs through Friday. Another front passes on Thursday that'll bring a chillier morning on Friday, but otherwise highs just kind of stay in the 50s. And then we'll drop back into the 40s by the start of next week. So again, that cold air does stick around. I know folks are looking forward to WRAL first night. I'll be working morning, so I won't be able to see this.
I'll be asleep.
But I will watch recordings when I wake up in the morning on New Year's Day. And it's going to be a really pleasant evening. It's going to be cold out there, not overwhelmingly cold, but your typical winter cold. We'll get into the 30s during the overnight hours. So make sure you have make sure you're bundled up, and I'll talk about some things that you might want to remember before you head out here in a second. But 51 by 2 o'clock, by 6 p.m. 45, then by midnight 34 degrees. We start 2026 with some chilly temperatures, but at least it's not going to be raining because no one wants to be standing out at celebrations in the rain. So you don't have to worry about that. Mostly clear with lots of sunshine for your New Year's Eve, a high of 52. A touch warmer by the afternoon on New Year's Day, but otherwise no big changes. It'll just stay chilly, 54 degrees for your high on New Year's Day. So it should be pleasant for both days. Again, a little bit chilly during the overnight hours, but otherwise just make sure to have some layers just in case. 34 to 37 will be our kind of condition, like temperature generally around the time of the midnight striking. Yeah. So thick jackets are needed. Maybe a festive hat. I don't think you'll need like a super, warming like beanie or anything like that. Yeah. But if you got one of those festive hats on, that might help to eliminate some of the cold feel. Gloves, that's up to you. That's up to your discretion. I like this whenever we were talking about the cold air coming in last week. So I was like, I'm going to do this again. Yeah. But instead, you got a festive hat and you're partying. So we got a party background. See?
It's like every year you wonder
if you're at a rave.
How can they turn it? Yeah, I know. Quite a party back here.
I know.
It's so funny because it's like, how can they turn 2025 into a pair of glasses? How can they turn 2026 into a pair of glasses? I guess that's going to be easier because of the 6.
Yeah,
but I love wearing the year glasses,
okay.
how they do that.
I haven't worn one of the year glasses before. I might need to do that. I guess with the 6 it'll be easy because it literally will be the shape of an eye. Yeah. I guess you could do the 0 could be for the 20 could be here.
2, and now we'll have a 2. I feel like we're getting old.
Yep, time flies.
But Grant, this will be your first time being here in North Carolina for New Year's,
right.
And you know about the acorn.
I've heard about it now.
We drop so I had to inform Grant, we drop an acorn here in the city of Oaks. That's the nickname for Raleigh. So
it is a pretty acorn.
Really cool.
So it is a cool thing. I'm excited to again see the
Watch
recordings.
The recording.
But I mean, my plan is maybe if I go to bed early enough on New Year's Eve, then I can wake up in time to see the acorn.
Set an alarm.
And then to kind of start my day then. That means after I'm done working Thursday morning, nap will come in handy. But I think I might be able to pull that off. There's sometimes where I wake up super early in the morning anyway because I want to get my day started, and day started is like 1:30.
1:30.
So it's wild. But yeah, it'll be
brutal.
Chilly that morning. Lows in the 20s on Tuesday morning, and then we'll stay in the 20s Wednesday morning. By New Year's Day morning, it'll sit in the temperatures will sit in the 30s. So not as cold as this, but it'll still be pretty cold out there. Again, Tuesday morning, clear skies, 28 degrees, and then 27 in Rocky Mount, 25 in South Hill. You factor in the wind because we'll have that wind that picks up into the afternoon and evening on Monday and kind of sticks around through Tuesday morning. The wind chills will likely drop into the 20s across the area. I'm expecting some low to mid 20s into Tuesday morning, and then maybe some teens for our wind chills into early Tuesday. So yeah, Tuesday morning definitely going to be cold and windy, but the winds will back off. It'll just be that kind of stagnant cold into Wednesday morning, and then thankfully Thursday morning's a little bit warmer. New Year's Day morning is not as cold as the past couple of days, not as windy, but it's still going to be cold out there, so make sure you have some layers. I want to show some reported photos real quick from the past week. Again, the moral of the story is it's going to be cold, colder than it has been. So, but more of that wintertime cold. So, it was not going to be too bad. This is a sunset from this past week. We didn't get a location here, but Madison sent this in. This is from the winter solstice, so we had a lot of scatter cloud cover. It was very, very pretty. All of the sunset photos from the winter solstice were just gorgeous. This was a sunrise on Christmas Eve. I believe it was a sunrise on Christmas Eve from Falls Lake. Very, very pretty. Just some scatter clouds that day. And then some fog on a Christmas Day sunrise from Lake Alman, I think that's how it's pronounced. Alman, maybe?
I don't know that one.
I've never heard of this lake either, but I'll
Let us know.
have to do some more research into this. But very, very pretty. We got some, again, just some fog and a little bit of cloud cover out there, but it was warm. It's pretty warm on Christmas Day. And then I've got to show anytime we have a pup photo send in here, I have to show it. So Jody sent this in out of Sanford. Love the festive pups with their glasses and that tree. Yeah. That tree looks awesome. Look at all the colors and the decorations. Love to see all of the different festive things you all come up with, even your decorations outside. I love to see driving through some of the neighborhoods. Yeah. I'm just dumbfounded by the amount of awesome decorations and
People put in work
lights.
for it.
I know, and they'll have like this. I like the synchronized lights with the music. That's probably my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I need to see some of those displays.
That's really cool.
In big weather stuff across the country, it was pretty active this past week. Mainly snowfall in the New England states. That was a big issue, and obviously some high winds have caused some delays across many parts of the U.S. Into this weekend. But also a lot of rainfall towards California as well. You have some video to show, right?
Yeah, we've got some video. So I want to first start with Boston Logan. You know, we've been reporting on, flight delays, cancellations. This is from Boston Logan Airport. When we were kind of tracking flight delays and cancellations during our 6 p.m. newscast yesterday, a lot of the airports in the Northeast were the ones that were being impacted the most by this winter storm that you all have been talking about. But yeah, just take a look at that from Boston Logan. You know, the Bostonians, they're used to snow.
Yes.
But you know when this video pops up in our feed, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can just see them, crews trying to de-ice planes, get people moving because millions of Americans are traveling. This is one of the busiest days that we'll have for the rest of the year in terms of travel. And yeah, as you mentioned, also, all the way on the other side of the country, some pretty severe flooding in California. This is from Wrightwood, California. Look at that. Just a lot of mud, people trying to clean up.
Yeah.
And it's California. So a lot happens in California, right? But it's just wild to see this kind of weather in Southern California.
Yeah, and that was something I was looking at Sunday, and I was mentioning this during the newscast last weekend, and maybe I mentioned it during our YouTube video last weekend as well, that I think rainfall, I thought the rainfall was going to be pretty significant for parts of California. There were already some moderate risks put out by the Weather Prediction Center for flooding in SoCal for the middle portion of Christmas week, and you're seeing kind of what the outcome is from that. I mean, it's been a little bit drier there at times. Not for Northern California and up towards Oregon and Washington. They've had a lot of rain, but SoCal not as much. So when you haven't had a lot of rain in a while, your terrain's going to be more susceptible to flooding, and that's what we saw there in Southern California. So yeah, very impactful weather there during Christmas week.
Absolutely. And we obviously we're posting this on Sunday before the week of New Year's, but people are going to be continuing to travel and fly. So something that we do in a lot of our newscasts is we give live updates. So stay with us, on News Plus during our newscast throughout the day, because we like to give those live updates from FlightAware.
Right, and if you have any information about how you've been impacted travel-wise, maybe you've had some issues at a local airport or anything, I'm not saying any major issue, I'm saying maybe weather has impacted you or something like that.
Right.
Send us some information, WRAL.com/report it. You can not just send photos and videos, but also if you just have a little message you want to share with us, like, hey, my travel was impacted at this airport whenever I was traveling from RDU to here to see family. Here's a heads up for people, because we're looking at data, of course, but you all are the ones that are doing the traveling. We're here, so if you have any information, please share it with us. And of course, any videos, photos you have of weather that you experience over the next week. I know it's going to be cold. Maybe you have some fun New Year's Eve, New Year's Day photos to share with us. This is the place to share it. It's really easy. You just go on WRAL.com, and we have a tab that's really easy to access for reported stuff. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel as well.
This one.
By doing that, you get notifications when we post videos like this and any other content from our team talking about, maybe it's flight issues or it's anything else news-wise across our area. We share it on this YouTube channel, so make sure you're liking and subscribing and staying up to date with all the latest stuff. But yeah, gonna be cold this week after a warm start, so make sure to have I know you've been able to shed the jackets and stuff like that, but definitely have them on standby. It is still winter. This week's going to be a reminder of that. What's your advice for folks heading out to? It's going to be cold New Year's Eve. What advice do you have?
Well, I would say if you're going to first night, you try to get there early.
Yeah.
Obviously maybe carpool, do a ride share, so that you don't have to worry about parking. But yeah, just really be safe and have fun. And if you see us out there, we're gonna have normally we have a crew out there on first night. Come say hi, come say hello to us and introduce yourself, because we love to meet people out in the field. Yeah,
enjoy first night, enjoy this week. It's gonna be cold, so make sure you have those layers handy. But we'll see you all in 2026.